Live Laugh Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live.
Laugh.
Larceny. Welcome to Live Laugh Larceny. Opinions are like assholes. I'm getting more comfortable with mine. This is Trevin.
Congratulations, and I am Amanda.
Thank you so much.
So, Trevin.
Yes.
What is your dreadful dilemma this week?
Okay, I have a dreadful dilemma, and it's something that has been bugging me for a while, but now it's gotten way worse, and I just got to talk about it.
Uh-oh.
So my sweet lady love upstairs, she doesn't like feet.
Oh, God, I forgot this is going to be a foot dilemma, okay?
It's a foot dilemma, y'all. I don't like feet either, okay? I'm not like in love with them or anything. But I have a long history of doing hard workouts, so my dogs be barking a lot.
Okay, uh-huh.
Her love language is physical touch, so she wants to have her feet rubbed. It was probably about 6 months ago I started going on a foot rubbing strike because I said, I deserve a foot rub too. I am not just some man who's just here to be doing chores. I think we both are great people and we both deserve foot rubs.
Oh my God, Trevin. So you really put your foot down.
Ooh, I really did.
I had to do it.
She started getting very resistant of it. And she's like, oh no, that's not how this is supposed to work. And I'm like, yes, it is how it's supposed to work. For the longest time, she just didn't want to do it. I have bad hands. They hurt all the time when I give people foot rubs. And now something has happened where I got a toe fungus.
No, you didn't.
I got a toe fungus.
Where the fuck did that come from?
I don't know. You actually are kind of the reason in how I found it.
What?
When we were at your birthday party, you had stepped backwards in a drunk stumble and stepped on my toe. The next day I was like, God, my toe hurts. Kind of weird.
I don't recall this.
I hardly recall it either. I was like, man, my toe really kind of hurts. And so I started inspecting it the next day and then there was like a crack. And then I noticed that there was like the start of like a little bit of a fungus place. And they say that that's how you can get it is through like getting, I don't know.
Getting crush fucked by your friend on her birthday? I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm not saying you did it, but I'm saying that I noticed that it hurt more than it should have.
Right.
And that's because maybe there was already some fungus there.
Yeah. Okay.
It started spreading and getting worse, and I treated it way too late.
I feel like I'm in the movie Contagion.
Well, so the other day we had to say goodbye to the toenail.
Which one? The big one?
Yeah. From a distance, you wouldn't think I was missing it because it just kind of looks like there's still the shadows of a toenail there.
No.
But you don't have to look at it up close. But
You're going to make me look? Oh, it actually does look like a shadow of a toenail.
yeah, I mean, there's just a little bit of nail right there.
That is horrible. That is horrible. Horrible. Are you okay?
I'm totally fine.
Okay.
But ever since I first caught this back at the time of your birthday, Emily's used that as the excuse of why she doesn't give me foot rubs. She's like, oh, you have a toe fungus. It's really not fair. You should still be rubbing my foot. It's not my fault you have a fungus. And then she kind of plays it off like, I would have if you didn't have that fungus. And I'm like, girl, this war has been going on for much longer than I had a toe fungus.
Yeah, let's see. Let's pause the debate and see. Once your toe grows back, maybe, however long that'll take, and the fungus is gone, if she's still not rubbing your feet, then there's a problem.
I really am trying to change the way I take care of my feet because I told her, I said, I am going to start doing my own petties.
Yeah.
I'm going to start exfoliating. And I said, I'm going to have the most beautiful feet and everybody in the world is going to want pictures of these things and you can't have them.
Ooh, That would be the biggest revenge you could do on your wife. Having the cutest feet on whatever, you could upload them. You could have like a little site just for your feet. And she can't subscribe.
Yeah, I could be walking on the Scarlett Johansson of feet.
But right now, boy, those feet are scary. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, God, Trevin. Well, I also have a dreadful dilemma. And it has nothing to do with fungi, people. I promise you this. It's a little different than Trevin's, but still dreadful nonetheless. There is a variety chip box that I usually get at the grocery store, and it's really great for our family. It's called the Frito-Lay Flavor Mix is the official name of the box.
Like the little bags that you can put in like your kids' lunch boxes?
Yes, and they just come to you in a cardboard box, but it's individual, different flavored chips in little baggies, for like lunch size and whatnot. It's really good for kids and also for me. If I have a whole bag of chips, full-sized, it better watch out, okay?
Right.
But if I have a little one, it just keeps me in check too. So I like the little bags. Anyway, let me tell you what comes inside this particular mix. It comes with barbecue, crunchy Cheetos, Cool Ranch Doritos, nacho cheese Doritos, chili cheese Frito.
Best Frito right there.
Oh, I love that Frito. It's so good. And sour cream and onion.
That's a great variety.
It's a great variety. And like you were saying, the chili cheese Frito is so damn good. It's the one that they only put 2 bags of it in there, and the rest of them you get more because they're like, everyone wants me. Sounds great, right? In theory, and like we're all getting what we love. Winnie likes barbecue and the Cheetos. Lila likes the Dorito ones. Jordan likes the Dorito ones and the Cheetos. So like it works out. The only dreadful thing about this, though, is that none of us want to eat the sour cream and onion.
Really?
And we are stocking up. We have so many sour cream and onion. It's not the grooved kind of chip. It's just the smooth sour cream and onion.
With the little
lace.
The little cut.
Yes.
Yeah. Emily loves sour cream and onion, I think. So.
Oh my God. If she does, I can just fill up a whole basket for her like every few weeks and just bring her a basket of them. Because I'm telling you, I don't mind those chips. It's just not the one I want out of all those. And they just keep getting pushed to the back and forgotten about. And it's a real dreadful problem. Well, now my problem might be solved in real time and I can deliver them to Emily.
I am like 80% sure she likes them a lot.
We need to ask her after the recording. If not, anyone else in the local area want to do a pickup?
I mean, I like them too. It's taken years, but as an adult, I appreciate sour cream and onion now.
I like them okay. It's just out of all the other options, I'd rather have those. And then, I don't know, when it comes to sour cream and onion, I like the sour cream and cheddar ones. They actually smell like feet. So our dreadful dilemmas kind of intertwine in that way. But I love them. They're so good.
Delicious.
Anyway, Trevin, are we going to be doing a round of top 5 today?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Top 5.
Girl, we absolutely are. And it's my week to go first.
I was wondering.
It's a list that I compiled myself.
Ooh, okay.
I was getting myself prepared, and the more I was looking into websites that covered it, nobody had a good top 5 that I liked. And plus, this is something that people get wrong, or often a legend gets built that makes something untrue stick.
Yes.
So I tried to stick with things that I felt were strongly correct.
Okay. I don't know if you've noticed this or if it's happening to you, but now when I'm looking up factual things like this for the show, it keeps doing an AI generated response where it pulls from multiple websites. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. I have yet to use it on the show just because I'm like, what would I say? This website. I don't know. It's weird, but.
Yeah, the AI searching thing is weird, but I do kind of like Facebook's. When there's the comment section, there's a little AI thing that'll sum up the entire comment section.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's so funny because, you know, everybody on Facebook's always like fighting each other. But it says some people are saying that this person is a great inspiration and all this other stuff, while other people are calling them racist and terrible. The AI summation doesn't really tell me anything because we are so strong in both directions, but it's entertaining.
I'm going to have to read those.
But for this week, I want to give you Trevin's top 5 famous last words.
Well, that just left me speechless.
I will actually be giving a 6 because there's one that I think we might have talked about once or referenced, so I didn't want there to be any repeats. So I've got 6. Plus, my number 6 comes from Winston Churchill.
Okay.
Who is a guy who's popped up a couple times on our show, so I felt like old Winston couldn't get missed.
Yeah, we got to include him.
So for number 6, not actually making my top 5, is Winston Churchill's famous last words, "I'm bored of it all."
Oh, that's how you know you're ready to go.
Also, a lot of the little blurbs I'm going to be using came from sunlife.co. All the quotes were ones I found on my own, but Sun Life had a great list of 10, but they weren't really in any particular order. These were the last words of Winston Churchill before slipping into a coma. He died 9 days after slipping into a coma.
Okay.
For number 5, Marie Antoinette. And this is one where I feel like we've talked about it before, or I once thought about it. But her famous last words are, "Pardon me, sir, I did not do it on purpose."
Ooh, okay. That does sound weirdly familiar, but I don't know if it's from our show or something else, but that's kind of juicy.
It says, at the height of the French Revolution, Louis and Marie were charged with treason and sentenced to the guillotine. While on the scaffold, she accidentally stepped on her executioner's foot and gave him the respectful apology that became her last words. Seconds later, he chopped her head off.
Oh, damn. I thought that was an apology to like the general public. I didn't realize it was to the executioner.
Yeah, she literally stepped on his foot. I was like, "Oh, pardon me, didn't mean to do that." And he's like, all right, get down here. So,
whoa.
Number 4, Groucho Marx. "Die, my dear. Why, that's the last thing I'll do."
Okay. Explanation, please?
Well, he was a comedian.
Okay.
So he was just being funny and kind of ironic, which I love that as a final last word.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
He was going through a 4-month battle with pneumonia, and then that's the last thing he said.
Wow. Pneumonia deaths are always super bizarre to me in the modern age, but it happens.
Yeah, a lot, especially with old people.
Yeah.
Number 3, Jack Daniels. The Jack Daniels.
Oh, okay.
You want to guess what his last words were?
Who wants a body shot?
"One last drink, please."
Okay. That's a little more tamed version of what I said.
Yeah. The namesake of the famous brand of whiskey said this before succumbing to a blood infection. There's rumors that the blood infection was because he kicked a safe and the infection got into his foot and he got gangrene and died. There's other people that argue that he got gangrene from a second thing later and that's what he died. Either way, he died from gangrene.
Can you get that from having a toe injury from your friend stepping on you at a bonfire?
Damn, I didn't think about it like that. One last drink, please.
One last drink, Trevin.
Number 2 comes from a convicted murderer by the name of James Donald French. And his last words were, "How's this for a headline? French fries."
No.
He was the last criminal to ever be executed under the death penalty in Oklahoma. After killing a cellmate, he was sentenced to death by electrocution. In the death chamber, he shouted these words to the members of the press who were there to witness his execution.
Okay, that's actually really scary.
That is frightening.
Like, I would never be able to eat a French fry ever again if I was in that room.
Yeah, it would be a very negative connection.
Yes.
So a lot of people would usually use that French fries one as one of the most famous last words. I like to go with this one because I kind of find it dark and funny at the same time. John Barrymore, American actor. He was also grandfather of Drew Barrymore. His last words were, "Die? I should say not, dear fellow. No Barrymore would allow such a conventional thing to happen to him."
Well, iconic or conceited? I don't know.
It says, a heavy smoker and drinker in 1942, Barrymore collapsed while appearing on Rudy Valley's radio show and died later the same day.
So was he saying that while still on the radio show, I wonder? Like, to be funny, like, haha, I'll be fine.
I think he was. The way I'd read it in the ways he was
Damn.
on the show, I think.
Damn, that's actually really sad. But
Also,
I mean,
cocky
kind of-
fuck. Like,
I know he's cocky. He thought he was unstoppable, clearly.
So that's why it was my number 1.
Wow. That is a lot of mixed emotions, Trevin, but I love that. What would you hope if you could choose your last words?
I don't even know about what they would actually be, but I've been going back and forth. Like, would I want it to be something really profound, or would I want to be funny?
Right.
Would I want to go out on a really funny deadpan joke?
Yes.
I would probably be leaning towards something profound right now, but we have to see.
I know. I'm like, it depends. Are you going to be old as fuck? Like, your whole mindset could kind of change at that point. I'm sure life wasn't always boring for Churchill, right? But at that time in its life, he's like, okay, I'm done now, kind of vibe. I don't know. I feel like I would want mine to be something uplifting and maybe a little bit of humor with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Who knows? None of us get to choose.
That's true. I would say probably the older I am, the more it would be funny. And if it was like, you have to make it up right now, I'd say, okay, let's try to think
It'd be
of
a little
deep.
more serious. Yeah, I agree. Oh, God, knock on wood. My OCD brain. We are not going to die. Okay, today.
Ever.
Yeah, mine's just for the moment. You never want it to happen, okay? My top 5 is actually from one website, but they didn't have all of these listed in the same list. It was just a bunch of good information, and I'll explain it more as I go. But I did make it into a list. But this information comes from getcybersafe.gc.ca. They have a really good blog, and it's all about how to spot a catfish online.
Oh, I love catfishing.
It's become a pretty big thing. I mean, it's always been a big thing since the internet started, but as the internet continues to grow and technologies continue to change, it's become a real problem out there.
Yeah, the criminals have to evolve with it, because I thought when everything had cameras on them, it would kind of cancel catfish out, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, just take a picture right now and prove it.
Yeah, but no, technology is changing, and I kind of want to give a shout out. I think I've already done this years ago, but the show Something Was Wrong, the podcast, has always been a favorite of mine. And this season, I mean, she obviously deals with heavy stuff. We do not. But it's all about somebody who catfished their best friends and pretended to be a guy that they were dating.
Oh.
And not only was it like she had a fake profile from a guy's real photos that she knew, but she was also becoming their best friend at the exact same time and confirming that they were real. It was a big mindfuck. Anyway, I just find catfishing to be a very common and a very scary thing that happens sometimes. So I thought this would be a good top 5, okay? These are just tips of things to look out for. And what I meant by this had a variety of information. It starts off with good things talking about emotionally or conversationally what to look out for. And then it also talks about what to physically look for on profiles. So I just made it into one list. So 1, the person expresses their love for you without having met you in person. I'm sure there could be, and there's always going to be an exception to the rule for all of these. But that is a really interesting to think about. Like, if somebody's saying they love you and they've never met you yet, can that be true? Maybe. But could that also be a red flag? Yes.
I would say yes.
2, the person always has excuses for not making a video call or just doesn't show their face for various reasons.
Oh, my camera's broke.
My camera's broken. I don't have a camera. You know, I have bad service wherever I am. Excuses. In today's day, you should be able to get on a video call. That should be for sure a thing that's a red flag.
Yeah, it didn't cancel catfishers, but it probably saved a whole bunch of people.
It did. And of course, that one's a little more like, duh. We all know that one. But still, to this day, people can be really manipulative. And sometimes people will have a friend get on the video call for them. Like, it can be pretty advanced, you know?
Yeah.
3, the person tries to isolate you from people who have doubts about your virtual relationship.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So that's not only for people who are in your life in a physical sense that can isolate sometimes, but people can also try and do it and not even meeting you yet. And they're still being like, no, choose me over the people in your real physical life.
Isolating is a red flag no matter where that person is, whether that's in person or on the internet.
Exactly. these are a little more about the accounts. So number 4, they have connections with profiles all over the world and don't seem to interact with them. If there's a variety of countries, sure, you can travel a lot, but you're going to have a majority of people from the same place as your friends most of the time. So that was a good one. And number 5, their account was created recently and they don't have many posts. A little more into that, it's not even that this is their first time catfishing. Like a lot of times, they will have to create a new account each time they get caught, too. It's also a red flag in that way as well. But anyway, I just wanted to share the top 5 because none of us want to be catfished.
No, especially when you're married.
And you know what we do want more of, though?
Shows about catfishing?
No, ads.
And welcome back. I'm going first, as stated in our last segment.
Per our last segment.
Yeah, per my last segment, I am going first. And I've brought a story that I'm very excited about. It's a subject that I've touched on before, but I think maybe I'll just jump into it.
Okay, jump right in.
I will say that you will have roles in this.
Oh, yes.
And if we do this thing right, we should probably have an accent.
Oh, Lordy. Okay, I'll try my best, everyone.
So I'll leave us both in suspense on what that's going to be. And here we go. Have you ever looked at an individual and thought, how did you get so damn evil? I know I have. From crooked politicians to patrons being mean to customer service workers.
You call that over easy?
I ask myself that question about a lot of people. In most situations, I can see how my perspective makes an enemy out of others. But there are some that truly are supervillains of the real world. The lack of remorse and willingness to repeat the same wrongful actions, all for their personal growth, makes it difficult for me to find redeeming qualities. They may not be Hannibal Lecter, Darth Vader, or the Joker, but they are as close to the real thing that I can find, making them all the more difficult to define. The thing that makes them the most frightening to me is their lack of a proper origin story. Magneto's idealistic views and past discrimination made him an antagonist to the X-Men. Jason killed horny camp counselors because he was left to drown as a child. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Lex Luthor was just evil because he was bald. All of these villains have a tragic or ironic backstory that contributes to why they do what they do. The man-child at my hotel pool yelling at a teen lifeguard does not.
I'm an adult!
I don't get to humanize him with the way society wronged him in the past. To me, he's just an asshole in ill-fitting sunglasses. And I can only assume that his asserting his dominance in this public setting makes him feel powerful.
No teen girl can beat me!
That alone makes him evil with a capital E. This week, I found a real-life petty supervillain, more akin to a Lex Luthor. A bad guy so premeditatively diabolical that if we made a petty criminal Legion of Doom, they'd be sharing a table with the honey farmer who unleashed bees at an eviction protest. And unlike those real-life villains that I mentioned before, this one does have an origin story. Before we begin, let me once again thank Julia and the rest of Marucci Shire Council for entrusting Hunter Watertech with the implementation of our supervisory control and data acquisition systems onto all 142 of your sewage pumping stations. Vitek, let's start this thing. As we speak, your beautiful 65-mile stretch of Australia is pumping its daily estimate of 35 million liters of sewage, all under the control of our 2 monitoring computers, utilizing 3 radio frequencies. With this system in place, Kid Rock's hit single American Badass won't be the only crap traveling through our radio waves this year. The introduction of a new system is a significant event for any company, requiring extensive behind-the-scenes effort. This process often involves years of testing and refinement before the launch. Multiple outside vendors typically compete for the opportunity, with the best one ultimately selected.
You're hired!
The goal is to ensure that the change is the best fit for the company, providing ease of use and long-term customer service. Australia's Marucci Shire City Council exemplified this approach when they chose Hunter Watertech for their city's new sewage monitoring system.
Thank you, Hugo. And might I just add how current that Kid Rock joke was, since this is the year 2000? We at the Marucci City Council are so pleased with what Hunter WaterTech has brought to our city. You heard all our needs and meticulously worked to exceed even my own expectations. I know that all of our city's waste is in your capable hands. Please, you must let me personally thank one of the engineers who made this possible.
The confident businessman looked over at his co-presenters and the small crowd of city council members presented for the system's launch. Although he came prepared with flowery words and pop culture references at the time, he was not expecting a request to meet an engineer. Caught off guard, Hugo attempted to steer the conversation in a different direction. Heh, there's a reason why I'm the one speaking and our engineers are ones behind the scenes. They don't possess a bedside manner and pizzazz that we bring. Here, let me show you how quickly we can stop sewage flow for testing with a simple click. Hugo walked over and began typing on a nearby laptop, but Julia interrupted.
Please, I insist on meeting the genius who was able to make this dream a reality.
She asked again nicely. The charming presenter stopped and sighed to himself. I've got one of my most skilled engineers here with me, he spoke up. But I must warn you, he comes off a bit evil. The small crowd of city council members remained stern, awaiting the introduction to this enigmatic engineer. Vitek, would you please come down here and introduce yourself to the fine people of Marucci Shire? Hugo called out. As the door from the control room opened, a shadowy figure shuffled out. Even from a distance of 60 feet, the man's presence left the room stiff like the inside of a dead man's lung. Nameless council members began to whisper amongst themselves as the man's antagonistic aura grew closer and closer. Everyone, meet Vitek Boden, our head engineer, the man who made your sewage dreams come true, stated Hugo. Fighting her flight response, Julia approached the Bond villain standing before her with an open hand.
It's nice to meet you, Vitek. I appreciate all of your work.
Julia greeted, grabbing the cold hand of the engineer.
Ah, good day to you and the rest of your shire,
Vitek replied.
I went through great efforts to make sure each and every one of your town's duties will be routed according to my master plan. No stray turds or raw sewage stands a chance against my supervisory control and data acquisition radio-controlled sewage equipment. This plan will obliterate harmful chemicals and keep local waters clean and healthy for years to come.
The crowd jumped at the lightning outside, convinced that the words from this man's terrifying tone summoned the strike on this otherwise sunny day.
Well, we appreciate all that you've done for our city. Your system truly is a modern marvel of sewage management.
Thank you,
Vitek acknowledged.
To treat sewage is to know sewage, and I've found that most human beings are all just walking piles of raw sewage. As human waste is treated through a screening process, taking all the big chunks out to prevent clogs, we people also shed unnecessary energy to keep our lives flowing properly. The scum of the earth comes in all shapes and sizes, and I intend to leave all waste treated.
The crowd all stood behind Julia, afraid of what Vitek might say next.
That'll be enough, Vitek,
Hugo spoke up.
Why don't you get back in the control room and check the floater count in the crapper tanks? We don't want any hiccups on the first day.
As Vitek shuffled back to the control room, the Marucci Council began to loosen up again. Hugo leaned over to comfort Julia.
He's a bit creepy, but goddammit is he the best engineer in all of Australia.
Hugo raised everyone's spirits by making a few Y2K jokes, but he couldn't shake how disconnected his intended audience was after meeting Vitek.
Come in, if you dare. See what I mean? He's fucking evil.
Shh, we need to be professional. Hello there, Vitek. My name is Lisbeth from HR. Your manager, Hugo, told me that there may be an issue of being evil in the workplace. We thought we would both stop by and ask you a few questions if you have time.
Vitek remained seated, gesturing towards the two vacant chairs.
It is my understanding that there was an incident at the Marucci Shire sewage presentation yesterday. Hugo believes that you may have acted in a way that could have been taken as possibly evil?
Ah, yes. Ever since I was a young boy growing up in the mines of Melbourne, I've exuded a bit of dark energy. Anytime I would open my mouth, people would cower in fear based on my terrifying tone alone. No one wanted to be my friend. Mother eventually took me to a psychologist where I was diagnosed with VDS, villainous demeanor syndrome, a rare condition that makes a person, no matter how well-intentioned, come off as evil. We followed the directions from the doctor. No sugar, no gluten, only watch PBS and avoid all Fortune 500 companies. Still, my villainous demeanor persisted. You may have some uncomfortable situations when I'm around, but I'm the 49-year-old virgin who can't get past a first date. Every time I maniacally laugh after asking a woman to come back to my place, the mood is dead. They dry up faster than a pair of pissed pants on a windy clothesline. This is my nightmare.
Although I am sympathetic to your strange diagnosis, Hugo believes that your villainous demeanor may have hurt our relationship with a very powerful customer.
That's impossible. She said she appreciated me and that my work was a modern marvel. Damn it, Vitek,
Hugo interrupted.
I could see it in her eyes. I could see it in all of their eyes. They looked at you like you just walked in wearing someone else's face.
As the meeting derailed,
That's enough, Hugo.
Vitek began to feel defeated.
I can't believe this is happening again. You all are going to fire me just because I came off as a Disney villain. Well, I'm not going to stand for this. The Marucci Shire people love me, and they'd be happy to have me. Well, here's your chance, Vitek, because I only brought Elizabeth in here so I could fire you in front of a witness. Effective immediately, your employment with Hunter Watertech is finished.
With a single tear running down his cheek, Vitek loaded up his creepy taxidermy animals and left his office forever. Arriving home, the newly unemployed man began unloading his work box, taking breaks to stare deeply into the acrylic eyes of his taxidermied badger.
Beautiful.
Searching for new spots to put his office decor, Vitek spied a small card peeking out from one of his notebooks.
Julia B. of Marucci Shire City Council,
He read aloud.
I might as well network a bit and see if there are any jobs available.
Typing the number from the card into his home phone, he prepared himself to come off as charming and suave.
This is Julia B., head council person for Marucci Shire. How may I help you?
So we meet again.
Vitek said as sweetly as he could.
I wanted to call and discuss something that I think you're missing.
Oh my god! Who is this? Did you kidnap my ferret? I can pay you good money, just don't hurt her.
No.
The seemingly evil gentleman reacted.
It is I, Vitek Boden of Hunter Watertech, and the thing in which I believe you are missing is a skilled engineer such as myself.
Are you inquiring about any open jobs, Mr. Boden?
Julia spoke up before being interrupted by someone else in the room with her.
Who are you talking to?
It's that evil guy from Hunter Watertech.
Oh shit, did he just get done robbing a charity? Get rid of that weirdo.
Hearing the quiet conversation on the other end of the phone, Vitek remained confident.
Why, yes I am. The Marucci Shire Sewage Department has been a second home to me since taking over the latest project. Your culture is impeccable, and I'd like to ask if there's any need for a skilled engineer to manage your newly launched system.
After a long pause, Julia eventually responded.
I'm sorry, Mr. Boden, but we currently don't have any openings available. I really must be going, though. I completely forgot that I had a funeral to go to this afternoon, and now I'm late. Ta-ta!
As the dial tone rang out from the phone, Vitek swept the entire receiver off his side table. The clatter of the corded home phone crashing to the ground filled him with a sense of control he'd never felt before.
For as long as I've been alive, people have been telling me I'm evil. Well, maybe it's time I give the world what they want.
Running into his home office, he flipped on the lights, revealing a room of wall-to-wall electronics.
I guess we'll just call this my secret lair instead of my home office now, since everyone thinks I'm so evil,
he shouted.
And I guess all this hobby radio equipment I have needs to have some kind of diabolical twist too, huh?
He flipped open his Hunter Watertech-owned laptop and began frantically typing.
Maybe since I'm so evil, I should just hack into the entire Marucci Shire City mainframe and mess with their sewage levels. Yeah, if Hunter Watertech and Marucci Shire want a villain so bad, I'll give them a villain. And I'll call myself something cool, like the Cyber Septic.
Vitek converted his personal vehicle into a mobile battle station for cyber attacks. Equipping it with his work laptop, personal laptop, and an array of radio equipment from his lair. He was undetectable, and all 142 of the sewage stations were at his mercy, as long as he was willing to drive near them. Each day of his unemployment, Vitek would drive out to a remote road, hack into the Maroochyshire sewage system and wreak havoc on the city. Pumps malfunctioned, alarms were disabled, and untreated sewage flowed into parks and rivers. He laughed, imagining the unseen havoc spreading across once pristine areas. Being a supervillain had unknowingly turned into Vitek's day job, and for the first time in his long engineering career, he actually liked clocking in. The more cyber attacks he completed, the more the dead-eyed stranger in the mirror began to smile back at him. Sure, it was an evil smile, but for once, he felt alive. True, all the wildlife he was dumping sewage onto wasn't feeling alive, but hurting Maroochyshire and making it look like a Hunter WaterTech mistake was a poetic way to kill two birds, a gigantic amount of fish and nature in general, with one stone. The dream life of supervillainy lasted nearly 2 months for Vitek, until a small mistake brought a lot of attention to him. It wasn't a slip-up of being traced or leaving a trail. It was a simple traffic stop on the way to another sewage plant that brought him face-to-face with the law.
License and regis. Holy fuck, that's a lot of radio equipment.
From February 28th to April 23rd, 2000, 49-year-old Vitek Boden performed 46 cyber attacks on the sewer system of Maroochyshire, Queensland, Australia. The whole diabolical sewage scheme began when Boden, as an employee of Hunter WaterTech, helped engineer the system for Maroochyshire. After leaving the company under questionable circumstances, Boden applied for a position within the Maroochy Council. When he was not hired, he sought revenge. Between his 46 cyber attacks, 265,000 gallons of untreated sewage was dumped into city parks, rivers, and one Hyatt Regency hotel. Janelle Bryant of the Australian Environmental Protection Agency said during an interview with the Register, "Marine life died, the creek water turned black, and the stench was unbearable for residents." The septic terror ended on April 23, 2000, after being pulled over for a traffic violation, where the reporting officer saw the computer and radio equipment in the car, one laptop being stolen from his previous employer. In November of 2001, Boden was convicted on 27 counts of using a restricted computer to cause detriment or damage, along with 1 count of willfully and unlawfully causing serious environmental harm. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and was required to pay for the remediation of the damage he caused. Although I can't find a solid number on the total damages, one source estimates the cost to be at least $1 million in 2000's money. It's unclear how much Vitek Boden ended up paying, as most articles focus on preventing future cyber attacks by ex-employees, rather than the specifics of his crime. Reflecting on Vitek Boden's actions, I found myself asking the same question I posed at the beginning of the story. How did you get so damn evil? In many of these stories, I can sympathize with disgruntled employees committing petty acts. But in this instance, the crime doesn't match the provocation. While the cyber attacks greatly affected Maroochyshire and Hunter WaterTech, the true victims of Biden's rage were the innocent wildlife, city parks, and citizens who suffered as collateral damage in this malodorous mayhem. For that, I think it's fair to call this person evil. It's hard to end a story like this with a clear moral, because even my dramatic ass knows that supervillains of Vitek's caliber are very rare. Sure, better electronic security measures will prevent similar acts in the future, but stopping the world from creating irrational antagonists is a much tougher task. In a world that creates villains, it's up to us to be the heroes. So do good deeds. Wear your underwear on the outside of your pants and pose dramatically in public. Who knows? Maybe your heroic antics might just inspire the next would-be villain to swap their chaos for community service. Because sometimes, the only thing that stops a bad guy with overly unrealistic ideals is a good guy with equally unrealistic ideals.
First and foremost, our accents sucked.
I just want to apologize to the great nation and continent of Australia.
I'm sorry to all the Aussies listening. That was truly our best, and we know it is not up to par.
There's a reason why a lot of Australian stories we choose not to do this, but for some reason I thought this will be fun and memorable.
You're like, this is what we need to do. And it was a lot, and I'm very curious to see how it comes out in the end.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be good and funny. Just please don't judge us only on our accents.
Yeah.
Okay?
And we mean nothing bad by it.
Also, did you want to give a listener shout out? I saw a familiar name in there.
I actually had 2 in there.
Oh.
Both of your characters, the business lady Julia B.
Oh.
And the HR lady Lizbeth.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yay!
Those are 2 Patreon patrons who are at the top tier and got their names and stories.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much for joining our Patreon felony level. Also, that was really filthy behavior on so many levels.
I feel like it might have hurt hearing the story for you, having to jump back and forth and be an actor in it.
Yeah.
But it's such a big and crazy thing to do.
There are other ways to seek revenge, even if he didn't sound like a natural-born villain. That is just really shitty. There's no other way to describe it, but I mean, it killed wildlife, probably.
Probably did. They never actually said that it killed a bunch of fish. I just assume it did if it turned the rivers black.
It did something to them at the least.
So 46 attacks over the span of 2 months. So he did this day after day. Because it was using radio frequencies, he had to go in and like kind of hack the radio frequencies with his radio equipment and get in the computer system to mess it up. So he had to drive closely to the sewage stations to make the attacks. But 46 times, you'd think that you would have cooled off at some point.
That's exactly right. It kind of reminded me of your story that you told in the past about the coworker that every single day for a long time would throw the cup into the coworker's yard.
Mm-hmm, the coffee cups.
Yes. It's like the persistence of doing something for months on end and something that has to do with human waste and animals and humans and the environment, and you're doing it day after day. What? Because you didn't get a job or you weren't on the board or whatever it was? Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah, you lost one job, was denied a second job, and then you just started killing the environment. Okay, I've had plenty of times in my life where I've lost my cool and maybe thrown one of my favorite things and it broke or something, and I was upset at myself for it later.
Yeah.
After that happens, I don't go and break another thing that I like. I go,
exactly.
Oops. And I would think that if I would have lost my cool and actually went through all of that, which I'm petty enough to do something like that, maybe if I was driven to it enough.
Yeah.
But I am saying that if I were to do something that wild and I saw the damage, that it wasn't actually hurting the city council and it wasn't actually hurting my employers, and I saw it like hurting wildlife, I would be like, I'm a bad guy, and I would stop and never do it again.
I was actually going to ask, maybe it didn't say in the articles or anything too, but did it even have people looking at that company being like, why is all this shit expelling from places it shouldn't?
There was a lot of stuff about that. A lot of people use this crime as an example of how to be better safe after losing employees and stuff like that. And of course, this was in the year 2000, so it's before a lot of things. But at first they thought it was just system problems. And then one of the other managers had came in and started checking everything. And they said the only way this could happen is from human intervention. And they said it's just all too bizarre and too specific. And he was apparently on a watch list already.
Ooh, okay.
But yeah, it was his own fault by driving poorly and getting himself pulled over. It wasn't even because they had traced it to him yet.
We need to sometime do a top 5 list of criminals that had these other big, larger crimes that were just found by normal traffic stops. Because you hear about it happening to like serial killers, like didn't it happen to Ted Bundy or one of them? Anyway, it's just interesting that it was just a simple little driving that got him caught for doing that. That is crazy.
Or even like a traffic violation had a little cameo in the Love is One documentary when they tried to transport the body and got pulled over. That was so weird.
Yes, that's so true. Wow. Well, great job. I loved your villainous laugh, and that accent I did find quite amazing, to be honest.
Thank you. I think that was part of the challenge too, is jumping between the two was very tough.
Yeah. And we're trying to do it in a timely manner. It's not like we really get to like really pause, really absorb an accent. Okay, people?
Yeah, we really don't. And the whole point of what I think makes this show fun is the fact that we each aren't prepared for each other's stories. So
right.
we kind of make it bad for fun.
Yes. I also have a story this week. It's a news story, and I really didn't have much to say ahead of it. So I am going to just say this in advance. We do have one connection, and they both take place in the 2000s.
I hope it's not Australia.
No, it's not. I don't usually point out connections ahead of time, but I do have another connection on top of that. So I just wanted to point out that we're already connected and kicking it back to the 2000s, everyone. Ding, 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 ding. So without any other babbling, here we go. They say that crimes, even of the petty variety, rise during the warmer months of the year. And I can totally see why. Increased body heat makes everything more uncomfortable. Blistering car rides home seem unbearable. AC bills skyrocket. And fun indoor attractions are packed with people seeking shelter and water. Blazing weather is sure to fire up any underlying desire to act out. So I recommend staying hydrated and finding some shade. As I tell you what happens when a person with criminal undertones is boiling hot. It was a humid and scorching summer day in East Naples, Florida in 2010, as 3 sets of flip-flops popped as they walked on the burning asphalt. The largest of the thong sandals belonged to an 18-year-old babysitter, Pamela. She held hands with the owners of the smaller footwear, 10-year-old Crystal and 6-year-old Stephen. Pamela looked both ways before guiding the children along the crosswalk. Their destination was finally in sight, the gate to the upscale apartment's community pool. Excited for some cool relief from the sun, Pamela quickly unlocked the gate and ushered in the little ones. She then blew up Crystal's inflatable and snapped on Stephen's goggles. Pamela then took off her cover-up and swan dove into the empty pool. It feels good, kids! Put on your floaties and jump in! Pamela shouted as she treaded water.
Here I come!
Crystal announced as she plugged her nose and jumped. Pamela helped Crystal back onto her flotation device, then turned to little Stephen. All right, buddy, come on in. Pamela put her arms out, welcoming him to join. Stephen scooted towards the edge of the pool, summoning all the bravery he possessed. He closed his eyes and yelled, "Cowabunga!" before cannonballing into the refreshing water. Everyone laughed as Stephen and his floaties popped up to the surface. Pamela told the kids to stay in the shallow section while she laid out to get some sun on her already bronzed skin. She brought a small speaker to accompany her and swiftly started up her favorite early 2000s hip-hop. Crystal and Stephen took turns diving in the shallows for sinking pool toys and trying out new water tricks. It was so nice to have the area all to themselves, but it was a Saturday afternoon, so the community pool didn't stay private for long. A few pool regulars from the apartment complex started to pour in, including an 80-year-old couple with a husband that insisted on wearing Speedos only.
Sun's out, buns out.
Pamela rolled her eyes behind her sunglasses, annoyed by the additional swimmers. That was until a group of attractive older men walked in with a cooler filled with drinks and stomachs full of abs. They sat at the opposite side of the pool from Pamela as she was laying out next to the kids' zone. To compensate for the distance between them, Pamela rolled over to her back and pushed out her chest. She wanted to make sure they got a good look of her in her bikini. Yet, not soon after, a gorgeous woman walked through the pool gate. She stepped confidently towards the cute group of bachelors, wearing high heels and a sheer sarong. In the shallow end, Crystal was still trying to impress her babysitter Pamela with her underwater scissor kicks and flips.
Pamela, look at me!
She squealed in between achievements, but her babysitting idol was looking off to the other side of the pool, not hearing her at all. Crystal looked at Pamela, lying out on her towel with her 2-piece swimsuit and 2 boobies to fill it out with. She then looked down at her own flat chest in disappointment, wondering if she would ever have jiggly mounds of her own one day. Pamela was distracted by another set of knockers on the woman in heels. In comparison, she felt immature and inadequate. She could never compete with a stunning grown woman like that. She gave up of posing on her towel and jumped back into the shallow end to play with the kids. Little Steven, being oblivious to the chest jealousy surrounding him, was just happy to have more people to help him with his steamed-up goggles. The three played water games on one side, while the attractive adults drank on the other.
To being sexy.
The 80-year-old couple remained sitting under an umbrella in the middle of the pool area, reading their respective books. The separated sections worked out for everyone to enjoy a little piece of the community pool. Pamela chuckled as Crystal showed off her best mermaid swim, and Steven sat on the shallow end steps, kicking underwater. That is, until Pamela noticed that his little kicks had come to an abrupt halt. She turned to look at him, asking,
What is it, buddy? Everything okay?
The question also caught the attention of Crystal, causing her to swim toward her younger brother.
Yeah, why does your face look so weird?
Crystal asked, in a less sensitive manner than her babysitter. Steven stumbled over his words, prompting Pamela to scan the pool. Had he taken an accidental dump while swimming? Was the old man's Speedo riding up his butt crack again?
Oh, yeah.
Or did it have something to do with the guys at the other side of the pool? Pamela squinted her eyes through her dark glasses to look across the reflective water when her eyes stopped on the beautiful woman from earlier.
Boobs!
Steven finally exclaimed as he pointed at the same woman. Only, instead of her attire from earlier, now the mature bombshell was topless. The shocking word expelled from Steven's young mouth caused the older couple to look up from their books and over at the topless woman. The wife gasped at the sight of the large and exposed breasts bouncing in the open sun. She cleared her throat and said with a judgmental tone,
Excuse me, do you know that your chest is exposed?
But the woman didn't seem to hear, and she continued to drink adult beverages and wiggle around freely. As the wife dialed local authorities, Pamela shielded the kids, encouraging a game of Marco Polo where both of them closed their eyes.
Marco?
It wasn't long before police officers rushed to the scene to get their own eyes on the pair of problematic titties. Yet, to their dismay, the woman had put her top back on before they arrived.
Aw, man.
Excuse me, ma'am.
We have reports you've been topless here at this community pool.
One of the officers asked the beautiful, yet now intoxicated woman.
Oh, that? My top just fell off when I jumped in the pool earlier. No big deal at all.
The woman slurred her words and grabbed her belongings. Pamela, Crystal, and even little Steven watched the interaction unfold before them. We're gonna need to ask you a few more questions, ma'am, because that is not the story we've heard. But instead of the woman in question giving further explanation, she stood up and began staggering away from the officers.
Excuse me, we need some identification from you.
No matter what the officers said, the woman just continued walking further and further away until it was time for the woman who believed in freeing the nipple to become anything but free.
You're under arrest for exposing your chest.
On June 5th, 2010, 39-year-old East Naples, Florida woman, Rachelle Gomes, was arrested at the community pool in River Reach Apartments. Witnesses from the pool told Collier County Sheriff's deputies that they witnessed Rachelle enter the pool around 1:45 p.m. and that she appeared to be drunk and stumbling. They say that she was speaking to another man at the pool when she removed her bikini top and exposed her breasts. Witnesses also told deputies that they told the woman her top was off, but that she ignored them. Reports state that Rachelle had her top back on when deputies arrived at the pool and told officers her top had fallen off earlier when she had entered the pool. However, upon further questioning, she exited the swimming area, appearing to ignore the deputies' questions. Reports also detailed that the officers observed Rachelle staggering to her feet and could smell a strong odor of alcohol on her. When she was asked for identification, she became uncooperative by walking away. After she was ordered to stop because she was under arrest, she continued walking away. A short struggle involving her and her friends at the pool ensued, yet Rachelle was eventually apprehended. She faced misdemeanor charges of obstructing an officer and resisting a law enforcement officer without violence. No final charges or punishments were listed. When things start to heat up around us, it's important for all of us to remain cool. If not, you too might find yourself in hot water. Before we talk about this, Trevin, can I just say, first of all, that it says nowhere on any article, anywhere on anything that I read, that she went topless in front of any children, okay? Because I'm sure if she did do that in the real story, there would have been way different charges for her if minors were involved, right? I just wanted to tell it in that way because I was kind of taking my own experience of being a summertime babysitter and how funny it would be from a child's perspective to see this whole thing unfold.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a very good creative way for me to use some of our Patreon subscriber names in the story.
Oh, you had some felons in there?
I did have some felons, and I just wanted to quickly shout out Pamela B. I made her the babysitter. Crystal O was the older sister, and Stephen L, aka Vitamin Steve, was the little 6-year-old who spotted the boobies.
I was thinking about that as you were doing this story, and you said little Steven, and that seems so familiar to me.
Yeah.
And then I remembered, Steven did send us in a listener story once, and he was a kid in it, and you called him little Steven throughout that story too.
Yes, I did that intentionally. Thank you for noticing.
I'm surprised I did, but yeah, just little Steven coming out of your mouth was so familiar to me.
That was the next bullet point that I was going to share about that. That's so funny that you noticed it. I wanted to give Steve a shout out. He's always been one of our really well-known listeners from Canada, sent us all the Canadian treats that one time. I thought that was funny to make him a little boy again. But all of them are listener names. They are not real people. There were no children that I am aware from the very, very, very limited local news stories that I read about it. I also found it to be really funny and weird that in the charges, there was no indecent exposure or I don't know, anything that had to do with her being topless. It was all about her resisting the authorities.
Yeah, just walking away.
Yeah. None of them got into real big detail. They just said a small thing ensued between her and the people at the pool. I don't know.
And even if it was a thing of any importance, you'd think there would be details for that.
No, that was just an afterthought. In literally every article, it was about a woman being topless at a community pool.
It sounds to me like they were just looking for a reason to bring her in because they didn't witness the boobs.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I'm sure you can find someone that will gladly show you their tatas, okay? You don't have to, run to the scene just to see them.
Yeah, they use their sirens and everything.
Seriously. And, of course, I just imagined that the officers would be like, I'll take that call, boy howdy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you get the whole SWAT team.
But yeah, I just thought the whole story was honestly kind of ridiculous, and it was kind of bizarre that was what the charges ended up being. And it's like, she wasn't even charged for drunken disorderly. She was just charged for resisting them. The whole thing was weird.
That does seem kind of weird. It sounds like they were just trying to make some other complainers happy, even though they didn't quite have the proof, which makes me think if there wasn't a lot of stuff public, then she probably didn't get anything either.
Yeah, I didn't even find her mugshot. I'll try and do a deep dive and find it, but I mean, I just saw her name listed and I don't know. If it's not that big of a deal, I don't want to also spotlight this chick because I don't even really, yes, going topless, I guess in areas where you shouldn't. But I actually looked up the apartment complex and I looked at the pool and it actually does look like a higher end, Florida apartment place with palm trees and a beautiful view. So maybe there really weren't any kids. And in that sense, it's we're all adults here, right? Who knows? I'm not a police officer. I thought it would be fun to do a pool story. So on top of the connection of our crimes were both in the 2000s, We also did discuss water systems. I mean, yours
Yep.
was a lot nastier than mine.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. My connection was also water.
That nasty, nasty water. Mine was nasty in a different type of way.
Yeah, real nasty water. The funny thing was, I actually have a note to myself for like future stories. After we were in Nashville, after we finished everything, you had already left, and I was trying to just kind of come down after the weekend.
Yeah.
Emily wanted to go to the pool, so I sat on the edge of the pool and stuck my feet in the water and just kind of stared off for a really long time. And I thought, have a story at a public pool sometime soon. So I probably won't now because I'm going to get that on my system editing this one. But yeah, there was just something about a pool story that was an atmosphere I'm not all that familiar with generally because I don't go to pools.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a nostalgic gal, okay? But I don't know what it was about me that I was thinking about summertime. And sure, I will take my kids to the pools, but I really, really went back into my memory and remember me being a high schooler.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people that needed their kids babysat in the summertime. And a lot of times they had access to these fancier pools that I never had access to.
Oh, yeah.
So we hit up those pools every single day. And I don't know why. It was just something I wanted to pull from and tell it from a child's view.
So is that how you found this crime? It wasn't because it was a viral arrest or anything. You were just looking for like pool crimes or something?
Oh, no. I was looking for topless people in public spaces.
That's me every weekend.
Yeah.
So,
Hey.
where are them topless people in public spaces at?
Well, I hope that everyone is having the best week. And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to eventually experience a fungus at least once. Don't judge me, people. Come on.
Bye.
See ya.
If you despise our Australian accents but love us, then come follow us on Patreon. We have bonus content, parody songs, and movie watch parties.
And if the famous last words got you down, why don't you follow us on social media and share us some famous first words by introducing yourself? Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or Threads. Live, laugh, Larceny.
And have you ever taken your top off in a public pool? If so, send us your petty crime stories. livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And rate our show the same way you would rate those chili cheese Fritos. Give us 5 stars wherever you rate podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods.
Your system truly is a modern marvel of sewage management. Whatever. I don't even know.
At least it was so obscure that it wasn't something I knew. Before we begin, let me once again thank Julia and the rest of the Maroochy Shire Council for entrusting Hunter Watertech with the implementation. Oh, I cannot do this. Is it bad? Is it racist?
No. It just sounded a little more English, I'd say. Oh, this is so honest and raw back here today, folks.
Yeah, for real.